Let's continue from where we stopped in the last lecture. So in the previous video, we have discussed about the different accounting types and also the coding of chart of accounts. Now we are going to looking at set up the chart of account for the first time. So if you are to convert your accounting system from manual system to a computerized system, so this would be the procedure that you need to follow. We'll see what it is. If you are currently using manual systems for your accounting, there are several things you need to know when you set up a chart of account. So probably in most of the cases what happens is that currently you are having a manual system for accounting. So manually you are doing accounting in an organization. But one point in time you decide that you need to convert your manual accounting system to a computerized system. In that particular case, the very first thing what you need to do is you have to determine a conversion date. Conversion date. So in most of the cases, this can be the first date of the new reporting period. Say for an example, if your reporting period goes like from 1st of April to 31st March, then probably you can start or you can choose the conversion date as 1st of April. 1st of April, let's say 2020. So you are going to convert your accounting system, the manual accounting system, to a computerized one starting from 1st of April 2020. Something like that. Determine a conversion date and gather balances as of that date. So in that particular date, you can easily get the asset, liabilities and equity balances. So that would be the balances which you will carry forward. So accordingly, you can select the asset, liabilities and equity balances on that particular date. You use this information for your beginning balances. Then at the beginning of the period on 1st of April 2020, you have some beginning balances with you, right? You have some beginning balances with you for the assets, liabilities and equity. Then it says, if you are setting up a new chart of account, instead of copying from one of the Sage 50 sample businesses, in our case, this is not applicable because we are going to set our own set of chart of accounts, new chart of accounts. So this is applicable for us. You need to have all your accounts numbers and names written down. In this particular case, so when you are going to create your own set of ledger account, the most important thing is now you have your asset, liabilities and equity accounts in your hand. Now what you need to do, you need to assign the codes for each of these assets account, liability account and also the equity account. You need to assign codes for that. For example, starting from number 1 for assets, number 2 for liabilities, number 3 for equity. At the moment, that's what we have. Assets, liabilities, equity. So therefore, you better assign numbers for that. So in other words, you have to do the coding. And also, you need to make sure that the proper account type is also written down in front. So basically, it will make your task easy. So you would identify the proper account, then do the coding, and then in front, you can identify the relevant account type that is identified in this computerized accounting software. Thereafter, have all of your transactions that have occurred after the conversion date ready to enter to bring your accounts up to date. So thereafter, so what you have to do, you may be having the transactions thereafter. So you need to make sure that the proper records of transactions are there. Then when and where the transactions are there, you can update that to the computer software. So say that you have sales transaction. So you may update that to the system. So you may be having purchase transaction, say purchase on credit. Then you may go to the what do you call that, your suppliers module. So you may update that. So you may be having credit sales, you may go to the customers module and you may update that trade receivables module. You may have purchase of inventory, so update the inventory. So likewise, so you would be keeping your transactions in place, and when and where the transactions are there. So once you set up the chart of account and once you set your individual modules, then you can start recording the transactions, recording transaction. Have all of your transactions that have occurred after the conversion date ready to enter to bring your accounts up to date. So it is the requirement. Then we'll see opening chart of account. So how you can access the chart of account. The chart of account window can be opened using one of the following ways. So as usual, here there may be alternative ways of doing. So the expectation is you may become familiar to a particular way of doing. So better know all the possible ways, then you may stick yourself to a particular method. Let's see what are the methods to access this chart of accounts. The first thing, you can go to the maintain and then you can select the chart of account. Or you can go to the list from the menu bar and select the chart of account. So that is another way of doing. So let's try both the methods. So you may go to your software. Then it says, in order to access this ledger accounts or the chart of account, you can go to this maintain. In maintain, you've been asked to go to the chart of accounts. In the drop down menu, you have the chart of accounts, you may access there. See, you've been taken to the maintain chart of accounts window. You've been taken to the maintain chart of accounts window. Then let's try out the other method. Let me close this. You can use either option. The second method to access this chart of account is you can go to this list. In the menu bar, the lists are there. In that, you have the chart of accounts. So again, you are directed to the same. Then this is your window. But so it's different from the previous window. So if you want to access the same window, you can click on new. So if you click on new, you would be directed to the previous window. You would be directed to the previous window, the same destination. But I feel that accessing this through the maintain chart of account is somewhat easier. It is quite easy. Straight away you are taken to the maintain chart of account window. By using either of this method, you may access this window. Then we'll see some of the important aspects that are there. You can see most importantly in this window, the place for the account ID is there. So this is what we are referring as the code. So here you have to give the code of the account, right? Let's say 1000. So you may type 1000 over here and then you can see the description is there. Description is what? The name of the account. Say that it is motor vehicle. So you may type 1000 motor vehicle. The account ID is given, then the description is given. Thereafter, most importantly, you have to select the account type. From the list, there is a drop down menu. From that, you can select the relevant account type. So its motor vehicle is fixed asset. So select fixed asset from here, right? That would be the most important aspects that we would be considered in the today's discussion. And also you can see the account beginning balances is there. So in fact, this would be the case in our next lecture. In our next lecture, we'll be discussing about how to enter the beginning balances. How to enter the beginning balances would be taken into discussion in the next class. Once you set the ledger accounts, thereafter you can enter the beginning balances. And also you can see another important thing, inactive. So there's an option for inactive, right? You can make, if you take this option, so you can see the tick mark is appearing there. Once you click on that, Then the account what you have creating, so it is status is convert to inactive. So this may be particularly useful that, so if you find that that you are no longer going to use a particular account, then you can put that to the inactive status. You can take the inactive status. Then the importance of this is, particularly this is quite helpful. Later you will be discussing that when you are going to delete a particular chart of account. When you are going to delete a particular chart of account, this option would be quite helpful. So if you have a chart of account which is not having any balances at the moment, no problem. You can delete that. But if you have a particular chart of account that is having some existing balance, that you can't delete it as you wish, because it is something that is not allowed. The accounts with the balance is not allowed to be deleted. So therefore, if you want to delete an account which is having some balance, what you can do is, first you can make that balance to 0. Say that you are having a credit balance in the account. By passing the entries, you can make this balance to 0. Then you can put that to the inactive status, inactive state, right? So once you put that to the inactive state, then at the end of the 2 open accounting periods, this particular account can be deleted. So once you take the option called purge utility. So it is a kind of discussion that we'll be taking later, but at this moment, remember this particular account, this particular option is quite helpful you to make a particular record, particular account. If you are no longer wish to use that, you can put that to the inactive, right? Then even it will be helpful for you to delete some accounts with some balances outstanding. So by making it 0 and then keeping it from the 2 accounting periods open, you know that when you're working in this system, the 2 accounting periods are open, no? So this is something you have discussed in the very first lecture. You can see that 2 accounting periods are open. So we are in 1st of April 2020. Then you have records up until the end of 2021 and also 2022. So that's why we call, so in this computer based software package, you can work simultaneously in 2 accounting periods. In 2 accounting periods you can work. So therefore, if you want to delete a particular account which is having a particular balance, then you have to put that to the inactive state, and later after the end of these 2 years, if you run the purge utility, you can remove that. So it is something that you need to know with that respect. Right. So let's see what is there in the description. Here it says, the maintain chart of account window is used to enter new accounts, edit existing account, and enter account beginning balances. So here basically what you can do in this maintain chart of account window, you can create new ledger accounts. You can create new ledger accounts as we discussed. And also you can edit some ledger accounts. Even some ledger accounts with no balances can be deleted. So some accounts can also be deleted over here. So that would be the basic things that the maintain chart of account window would support. Apart from that, this window can also be used to enter the beginning balances. Beginning balances. You have to select the period and then you can enter the beginning balances. So therefore, to enter the beginning balance, this particular window can be of use. Then you have the account ID. It identifies the account in the chart of accounts, lookup list, the transaction and reports, lookup list, transactions and reports. The ID can be up to 15 characters. You know that earlier we have agreed when it comes to this account ID. So you can go up to 15 characters the alphanumeric characters can be used. So here you can set it is a must for you to set this account ID when you are setting up the ledger accounts. And also you can see there's a drop down list once you create all the accounts. So if you click, so you can see the drop down menu is there. If you had created a list of accounts, then you can see what are the account that is there. And if you wish to access a particular account, you can simply select that and you can access that particular window even, right? So that's what it says, lookup list, transaction and reports. The description. Enter description for the account. The description print on reports and financial statement. So therefore it is particularly important you to use a kind of proper name. Say for an example, you may be having motor vehicles. You may be having motor vehicles over here. So it is 1200 motor vehicles, then the proper category. So when you are going to prepare the statement of financial position, when you are going to in fact generate the statement of financial position, it would easily appear there under the non-current assets. Then you have the account type. That is something again we have discussed, important thing. Select type from the drop down list. So earlier we have discussed about this. It represents the grouping of accounts. Then we have the inactive button. In fact, I have just elaborated on that. Select this checkbox to make the ID inactive. Inactive records are deleted when the purge utility is run. If they do not been used, if they have not been used in any transaction in an open fiscal year. Inactive records can be used in transaction, but a message appears reminding you of the inactive status. So that's what I told you. When it comes to this inactive status, so you are using to make to ensure that the particular account may not be in use hereafter. And in fact, this may comes handy. So if you want to delete a particular account with a certain balance. So if you want to delete that particular account, you have to make that balance 0. Then you have to put it to the inactive status. Then at the end of the 2 accounting period, which is open, you can, by running the purge utility, you can delete the particular account. එතකොට මේක මේ inactive button එක කියන එක මේ inactive option එක අපිට තියෙන්නේ යම්කිසි account එකක් අපි හිතුවොත් තවදුරටත් අපි ගනුදෙනු සඳහා භාවිතා කරන්නේ නැහැ කියලා ledger account එකක් තවදුරටත් relate වෙන්නේ නැත්නම් අපිට ඒක inactive status දාන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට මේ inactive state එකට දැම්මට පස්සේ මොකක්ද වෙන්නේ? සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මේ maintain chart of account එකකින් අපිට balance එකක් නැති ledger account එකක් බොහොම පහසුවෙන් delete option එක අරගෙන delete කරන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි යම්කිසි account එක balance එකක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒක එහෙම ලේසියෙන් delete කරන්න බෑ. system එක allow කරන්නේ නැහැ. එතනදී අපිට සිද්ධ වෙනවා ඒ account එකේ තියෙන balance එක reverse entries වලින් 0 කරලා ඒක inactive state එකට දැම්මොත් මේ open වෙලා තියෙන fiscal years දෙක අවසානයේ purge utility කියන option එක තියෙනවා PAN wizard එකක්. ඒක run කරපුවාම අපිට මේක inactive තියෙන cells delete වෙලා යනවා. එතකොට ඒක තමයි මේකේ තියෙන පහසුව. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපිට manually delete කරන්නත් පුළුවන් මේ අවුරුදු දෙක open වෙලා තියෙන අවුරුදු දෙක අවසානයේ. අපි දන්නවා මේ software package එකේ තියෙන strong feature එකක් තමයි මේ අපිට වැඩ කරන්න පුළුවන් එකවර 2 financial reporting periods වල. එතකොට අපි ජනවාරි අපි අප්‍රේල් එක පටන් ගන්නවා 2020. එතකොට 2022 මාර්ච් වෙනකන් අපිට මේකේ වැඩ කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒකට ඒ අවුරුදු දෙක අවසානයේ අපිට account එකක් delete කරගන්න පුළුවන්. Right? That is just to know something in depth regarding this inactive state. Now we can look at how to create ledger accounts. Now let's start creating chart of account for your business. In one point in time, you have decided that you want to convert the system to a computerized one, let's say at the beginning of a particular reporting period, 1st of April 2020, then you may set the chart of account. In order to do that, you can go to the maintain chart of account window. You can enter the account ID and enter the description and select the account type. Click save. Right? Okay. Now you are given a particular activity. We may do that. So when we are trying this out, we may simply go and filling this account type as well. Then it would be easy. So you have land from the beginning. What is the relevant account type? You know that it is now fixed asset. No, fixed asset. Account type is fixed asset. Then building, the same thing. So you can decide the building is fixed asset. Provision for depreciation, we may use the term accumulated depreciation, right? Accumulated depreciation, because the previous terms, the provision term, we are not using that. Depreciation. What is the category? Relevant category? Accumulated depreciation. So likewise, you can first decide the relevant categories. We may simply go and select that. Motor vehicle, you know it is fixed asset. Accumulated depreciation, accumulated depreciation. Patent rights, it is a intangible, so it is other assets. If you can remember, the category is other assets for long-term ones. Inventory, probably the category inventory is there. Then trade receivables, the category is account receivables. This category is probably most probably important because it will decide where these items would appear in the financial statements and typically what kind of balance they are having. Other receivables, you have other receivables. It can be most of the time other current assets. It could be other current assets. So it's a short term in nature, so therefore it is other current assets would be the proper category. Then here we can see that we have two codes. So probably this may be two business segments what we are operating. So the CL represent one category while the TR represent another. Cash in hand, it is cash. BOC, so it's a cash at bank. It is also the category cash. HNB, bank account, bank account. Trade payables, you know it is accounts payable, accounts payable. Categories there. Other payables, as the term suggests, other current liabilities. No, other current liabilities. So those are short term in nature. You can take that. Then you have the bank loan. Bank loan is basically, we call it, it is a long term liability. No, long term liability. Liabilities. Long term liabilities. Then you have stated capital, that is equity. Not only the equity doesn't get clause. Remember, I believe you can remember, it is equity doesn't get clause. Retained earning, this is particularly important. It is equity retained earnings. We can have only one category for this, equity retained earnings. Only one category can be there. General reserve, it is again equity doesn't get clause. You know, general reserves does not get clause, they would continue. Sales income, right? It is income. Training income, yes, everything is income. So the income, we have one category, other income, interest income. We have different incomes categories you may recognize, and thereafter cost of sales, you know it is cost of sales. Cost of sales is there. Then you have salaries. These are basically the expenses. So you are creating all the accounts that you believe would be of use, but you would be having opening balances only for, remember, only for the assets, liabilities and equity. But here we believe in our organization we would require these kinds of income and expense account as well. So therefore basically we are creating the account for that. So we have these expenses, the interest expenses, distribution cost, all our expenses. So you can simply take that, and expenses, interest expenses, other expenses, take them, and damage inventory. It is also a kind of expense. Right, now we have identified all the categories. Now our task has been made easy. Now we may go and enter them in the system. Enter them in the system, right? Okay, let's do this together. First you can go to the software, then you can go to maintain chart of accounts. Then we may start setting our accounts. The first we have to give the ID. It is 1000 CL. 1000 CL code is there. It is for, the description is land. You can set the description to lands. Lands. Then what is the type? Most importantly, this is the most important one. It is, fixed asset. Fixed asset. Select the category. Once you fill this information, you can easily set them. Yes, you have created your very first account. Then you can take the option save and new. Then it would be saved and a new one can be entered. New account ID can be entered, right? Save the existing one. It will make the window ready to open a new one. So therefore take the option save and new, right? Now moving to the second type, that is 1010. It is CL again. 1010 CL. It is about buildings. The description is buildings. You get the buildings. Then you have the account type, most importantly, fixed asset. Select that and save and new. Then you have 1015. It is also CL account. CL account. It is accumulated depreciation. Accumulated depreciation. It is building. I believe you can't type everything. Yeah, build. That is the maximum you can go. Most importantly, select the category. It is about depreciation. Accumulated depreciation. The category is there. Get that option and save it and new. Similarly, you may continue with this 1020 CL. It is motor vehicles. Motor vehicles. The category is fixed asset. Now you are so used to this, you can simply do this. Fixed assets. 1020 is there. Now 1025 accumulated depreciation. 1025. All are CL so far. Accumulated depreciation motor vehicle. Accumulated depreciation motor vehicle. Then you can select the appropriate category. It is going to be accumulated depreciation. Accumulated depreciation. You can save it. Then 1026 CL. It is 1026 CL account and it is paid in right. It's paid in right. Then we have the proper category. What is that? As we agreed, it should be other assets. Other assets. Right, you have selected that and save it. Then you have 1050 inventory. 1050 CL, that is inventory, and select the category there. Inventory. Yeah, the inventory is there. So select the category, account type, inventory. Then save it. Then you have 1100 trade receivables. 1100 is also CL trade receivables. Trade receivables. And the category is going to be, it is accounts receivable. Accounts receivable. Select that and save it. Then you have 1150 other receivables. 1150 CL other receivables. You have the other receivables, and it is most of the time other current assets. Other current assets. Short term in nature, so other current assets. Save it. Then you have 1160 TR. 1160. So this is the first time that the TR comes. It is other receivables. Other receivables, and most importantly, the category is, we call it other current assets. Save it. Then you have 1200 CL. 1200 CL cash in hand. Cash in hand. Take it. Cash in hand. So the appropriate category is almost there. Cash. Select. Then 1250 CL. 1250 CL. It is BOC. That is your BOC account. Current account. It's a cash. So you can. So the category is almost there. So you can save it. 1260 CL. 1260 CL. It is HNB. That is also cash. Then you have 1270. It is a TR1. TR HNB. It's a cash account. Then you have 2000. The liability starts CL account. You start with the CL account. It is trade payables. Trade payables. Most importantly, the category trade payables. The category is going to be accounts payable. I believe from the beginning you have accounts payable. Select the appropriate category. Save it. Then you have 1050 CL. 2050 CL. Other payables. Other payables. And it is going to be other current assets. Sorry, other current liabilities. Other current liabilities. Save it. Then you have 2100 TR other payables. other payables. It is going to be, again, we would select the other current liabilities. You can save it. So the next one, we have 2200 CL. 2200 CL. It's a CL account, and it is relating to bank loan HNB. You have obtained a bank loan from the HNB. It's a bank loan from HNB. You get that. The most appropriate category, it's a long-term liability. Long-term liabilities. Save it. Then you have stated capital 3000. 3000 CL. It's a stated capital. So it's an important one. You be conscious on this. Stated capital. So what you have to make sure, it's a equity. It's a equity doesn't close. Equity doesn't close. That's the most important thing. Equity doesn't close. It goes even for the next period. Then we have 3100. Another important one. It's a CL account. Retained earnings. It's retained earnings. Then you have the appropriate category, that is equity retained earnings. Equity retained earnings is there. So that is the most important thing. You can have only one equity retained earning one, right? Adhere to that strictly. Then you have 3200 CL, that is general reserve. It's general reserve. Then you have it's again equity. Equity doesn't close. Equity doesn't close. That is the appropriate category, right? Save it. Then you have the 4000 account. 4000 starts the sales. 4000 CL. It's a sales. It's going to be the income. Sales. Select the category. It is income. Save it. Then you have the training income. Training income. It's 4050 TR. 4050. It is about the training income. It's a training income one. Then you can select, again, the relevant category is going to be income. Income. Save it. Then 4100 CL is there. 4100 CL, it is interest income. You have the investment, so it generates interest income. Income is there. The categories, it's income. Save it. Then 4150 other income is there. 4150 CL other income. It's other income, and the category, it's going to be a kind of income. At the end of the day, it is income. Then you have 5000. The cost of sales begins. 5000 CL. It is about the cost of sales. So it is a cost of sales. That is a category. You should recognize that. Then we have 6000. The expense started 6000 CL. 6,000 CL. It is about salaries. It's about salaries. It's expense. The relevant category, select it. Then you have 6010 TR. 10 TR. It is salaries again. Salaries. Cash. It's the expense. It must be the expense category. Select that. Now you have 6020 CL. 6020 CL is there. It is electricity. Electricity. Again, it's at the end of the day, it's an expense. Then you have 6030 CL. 6030 CL. It's about water. Water is there. Select expense. You can save it. Then 6040 training materials. 6040. It may be TR1, right? No, it's still CL. 6040 CL training materials. Training materials. It's a kind of expenses. Then you have 6050 CL. 6050 CL. It is telephone and interest. Telephone and interest. Telephone and interest. Sorry, internet. So it would be again expense. Then you have depreciation 6060. 6060 CL. It's a kind of depreciation of building. Depreciation building. Depreciation buildings, and the category, it's a expense. It's expense. Save it. Then you have 6070 CL internet expenses. 6070 CL internet expenses. Internet expenses. So it's going to be again expenses. Then you have 7000, that is distribution cost. 7000 CL distribution cost. Distribution cost. It is kind of again expenses. Then you have 7010 CL. It is advertising. Advertising, the proper category, it is going to be expenses. Expenses. Save it. Then you have 7020 TR. 7020. This time it's a TR1. It's again advertising. Advertising, and it is again expenses. Then you have depreciation motor vehicle. 730 CL depreciation motor vehicle. So it is again expenses. Then you have interest expense. Then you have interest expense 8,000. 8,000. It's CL1. Interest expenses. Interest expenses. It's going to be the expenses. Then you have other expenses 8,010. 8,010 CL. It is other expenses. Other expenses, and it is going to be at the end of the day expenses. Then you have 8,020. It's a TR1. It's again other expenses. Other expenses, and that is going to be expenses. Save it. Then 8,030. 30, it's a CL1, the final one, and it is damage inventory. Damage inventory. It's going to be expenses. Right, you can save it. So with that, you have finished entering the accounts. And check how many records has to be there. So they are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There must be 42 records. Then how do you check where these records are appearing? So where you can take the list. As it suggests, you have to go to this list. In order to see the accounts that you have created, you can simply click on the list. So click on that and see, it should correspond to that. See, account listed 42. And over here, you can see the 42 accounts are there. In fact, we have entered 42 accounts. So once you finish with this, it is better, it is always better, you may go through this list and ensure the proper types is assigned. Proper type is assigned, especially the equity retained earnings and the equity related items. And also the rest of the items, better to go through that, right? You can see it is properly done. Now let me close this. Then here, if I come back to the original window, maintain chart of account. So if you click on this drop down menu, now you can see all the accounts are there. All the accounts are appearing there, right? Okay. Fine. That's how we enter the or create the ledger accounts. Now we look at, once you enter that, probably you may require subsequent modification. So subsequent modification, especially the name of the account. So let's say that you want to change that, then how you are supposed to make that particular change. So now you know how to create that, but still you need to know how to modify a particular ledger account, how you can do that. So all what you have to do in order to modify a particular ledger account, you can go to the maintain chart of account window. Then you can edit existing accounts or delete accounts that have no activity, right? When it comes to this deleting the account, you need to make sure that you can delete only the things that do not have any activity. So if you have some balances, I told you that you can't easily delete that. So you have to go through a particular process. You need to make these balances 0 and then put it to the inactive state. And then after 2 years time, at the end of the 2 reporting periods, which is currently open, you can delete that, right? So that is the delete procedure. But if the accounts is associated with no activity, then you can easily delete that. But edit, it is not that much of difficult. You can also enter beginning balances for the accounts. You know, in the maintain chart of account, you can enter the beginning balances. In fact, we have witnessed there's a window for that. However, beginning balances section, we are not going to cover up here. We'll be taking that in the next chapter, so it would be discussed later. The changing account description. Now you are going to learn how to modify the ledger account, especially how to change the name of the accounts, name of the chart of account. Change account description. Use one of the following ways to change the description. You can go to the list and select the chart of accounts. Then you can open up the required account and you can change the description. Or otherwise, so as always you are familiar, you can go to the maintain chart of accounts and you can select the account there, the proper account ID by lookup by using the proper account ID. Then you can change that. From the list you can select the proper account ID, then you can change the description and click save. That's it. It is that much of simple. Let's see how to access this particular window. Let me close this for a while, then I can show it from the beginning. As it was says, so one of the two paths, either you can go to the list chart of accounts and there you can select the account that you want to change. Let's say that you want to change the buildings wording. You can double click on that. Yes, see, you are directed back to the window where we have created the chart of accounts. Then here you can simply remove the description and put the new description and save it. That's all what it takes. This is the first method it was suggested. Just to show you again, go to the list, chart of accounts. The list is there. Select the relevant account that you want to modify and do the modification, especially the description, right? Or otherwise, as usual, you can go to the maintain chart of accounts and here you can, from the list, you can select the account. Say that you want to have the building. So from this drop down menu, you can select the building. Now you are there. You can do the changes to the description and save it, right? So that would be the two methods. Now let's look at an activity. I believe the activity would be there. Right, here it says, change the description of the following ledger accounts. You need to change. Three accounts are given: accumulated depreciation, the new description is given, business promotion, and other expenses. Right, let's change one by one. The description needs to be changed. You can go to maintain chart of accounts starting from 1015. You can select it from this. So it says that earlier it was given like provision. It was done in intentionally, but in our case we have at that particular moment we have changed it. But here it was given intentionally, so in a later point that was to change. But in our case we have taken, so therefore here we need not to make any change. No problem, right? But the second one, 720, we can make a change. Go to the 720. Or otherwise you could have simply typed that rather than going down. I believe that is the most easiest way. There we have put it like the description advertising. We are no longer believe that advertising should be the proper description. It should be rather business promotion. Make it business promotion. Business promotion. Now you can enter that, better save it. Make sure all the changes that you make save when and where. Then similarly you have to change this 820. Just type 820 over here, then the relevant account would comes. That is the easiest way. You can either select from the drop down list or you can simply type it. Just to show you again, type 820 TR, then it comes with the relevant description. There it says It's a TR account. It is other expenses what you have at the moment, but make it other expenses training. So that is the new change what is required. Now you can save it. So once you make these changes, then how you are to see these changes? All what you have to do, go to the list. You can go to the list and then you can view the changes that you did. So in fact, we didn't make any changes to this 1015 because already we have taken accumulated depreciation rather than the provision for depreciation. We haven't used that term. We do not see any changes there, but 720. So if you go to this 720, we go below the list, it has to be business promotion. You can see, yes, it has taken like business promotion. The change had become effective. Then 820, similarly, we make training expenses, other expenses training. Earlier it was other expenses. Now we have add one more thing, training. Yes, it is there. So this is how we basically change the account description. And as far as the change is concerned, it is quite easy. It is quite easy. Right. Then we'll see another modification. It is called the change account ID. How we are supposed to change a particular account ID. In this respect, what you have to do, again, you have to get access either using the list from the menu bar or maintain chart of account. Then you have to select there, most importantly, you have to uh, select the chart of account. If I start from maintain chart of account, then first select the account ID. Then you have to click on change ID tool. This is the most important thing. Unlike in the case of description change, here you need to be little conscious, right? You have to take the change ID option and thereby you can make this change. Then you can enter the new ID. That's it. Let's see. You are going to go maintain chart of accounts, and once you get there, select a particular account, say it's building, and here if you want to change the ID, you cannot simply change it over here like you did in the case of description. It is not that much easy, but rather you must use this option somewhere over here, the change ID option. You may click on the change ID option, then you can enter the new ID over here, then say OK, right? That must be the way to do that, right? Even you can come from the list, the same thing, chart of account. From this, you would select the relevant account by double clicking, then you can change ID, same window. Different ways of accessing that. Then if you look at the activity, you've been asked to change two account IDs, 1026 CL 2030 and 6040 to 6040 TR. Fine, let's do that. First, you may go to the chart of accounts. In that, select the account 1026 CL, 1026 CL, and they ask us to change the ID to 1030 CL, 1030 CL. Make that particular change. You have changed that and say OK. And then most probably save the change. You may no longer having, if you check it from the list, 1026 is no longer there. Similarly, 6040, training materials. So if you want to change that, so once you type this 6040 over here, make sure to enter that, right? Otherwise it may not become effective. So once you enter that, then you can go to the change ID, then change it, not CL but TR. It is no longer CL but TR. Say OK. Now it particular change had become effective. Even you can save it, then it is OK. Yes, it is there. That's how we basically change, you can go to the list and witness the changes that we did. 1030 should be there. 1030 is there. 1026 is no longer there. You can see it is not there. And similarly, 6040 is not CR anymore, but it is TR. TR. Right. That's how you modify the accounts. Now, we may learn about how to delete a particular ID. How to delete a particular ID. Then what you can do, some accounts are not needed, so they can be deleted. Use one of the following ways. But here, remember that you can only delete them if and only if the no activity is associated with this. If you have some balances or particular activity is associated, you can't simply delete that. But the accounts that are not associated with any of the activities can be deleted. Again, you have to go to the chart of account, then you can select the delete button and say yes. You can either come from list and you can come from maintain. And you've been asked to delete certain accounts. 6070 and 8030 you've been asked to delete. Okay, let's delete that. As usual, you have to go to this maintain chart of accounts. Then most importantly, you have to select that. You have to select the account. First one, you've been asked to delete 6070. So from the list, or you can simply type it and get it. 6070, let's say. First one, internet expenses. You want to get rid from that. So when you are in this particular one, click delete. Click on delete. Then a message asking, are you sure want to delete this record? Say okay, because you want to delete that. It is no longer there. 6070 and 8030 similarly. First type 8030, then enter that, then the account comes, then say delete. Say yes. Then you would see your records has become 40 because 2 records got eliminated. 6070 no longer there and 8030 no longer there. 6070 is no longer there. 8030 is no longer there. Fine. Our changes had become effective. And then we may look at the how to see the changes on the chart of account. So what you can do is, in fact, we have witnessed that already, but just to do that, use one of the following ways to see the chart of account. You can select the list from the menu and go to the chart of account, or you can click report icon in the toolbar of the maintain chart of accounts window, and from the drop down list select chart of account. This will open the reports on your screen. So you can use either method. So just to show that, you may come to this list, chart of accounts, then you can see the list is appearing there. List is appearing there. So here you can see all the changes that you had maintained. So this is how you access. Even you could have accessed the same place even by going to this maintain chart of accounts. In that you have seen that the list is there. So that is another way of accessing this. So it's about the how to weave the changes to the chart of accounts. So whatever the changes that you did, and simultaneously we used to see that, but here just to have a look at this so you can see it. So here you can see some of the records. If you want to have some reports, you can get them generated here, right? You can get them generated here even if you click chart of accounts. So here is another weave that you can have in the report view, right? So once you get there, so you can see if you click on this chart of reports, chart of accounts, then here it shows all the things what we did. So the report, if you want to generate a report of this is how you take. Now you can even send that to Excel, convert that into PDF, or even you can save them, right? So that's how we